Hi, my name is Chris Diodato. I am the founder of Wealth Financial Planning, a financial planning firm dedicated to helping folks achieve early retirement and financial independence. And today we are going to be talking about buying a car for purposes of renting on Turo. So what is Turo? T-U-R-O. It's the Airbnb of cars. And if let's say you're traveling, you can go with a traditional car rental agency such as Avis, Enterprise, or Budget, or you can go on Turo and rent somebody else's car. And the selection it's huge. You can get an 8-year-old beater for a relatively low price, or you can get a Porsche 911 if you're willing to pay the money up for it. So let's talk about which cars should you buy if you want to buy a car for purposes of renting on Turo. So let's start out with the profit formula, basic profit formula. So you start out with your daily revenue. So let's call that $100 a day. We have to subtract our various expenses from that. So the first thing we're going to do, we're going to subtract Turo's cut out of it. And Turo, they include their fees as well as insurance. They lump it all together. And those fees can be anywhere from 10 to 40% of the daily rental rate. So say $100, if you pick the best insurance with the lowest deductible, with replacement car coverage, all that stuff, they're going to take 40% of that. They're going to take $40. On the other hand, if you pick the one with the highest deductible with the least amount of coverage for your car, they're only going to take 10%. So that's the first part of the profit formula. The second part is depreciation. These cars lose value over time. Any car loses value over time. So ideally, we want to pick a car brand and a car type that doesn't lose as much value versus, say, ones that do. And then finally, repairs and maintenance. We want a car that is reliable because we're not getting paid to fix our car more often. So ideally, we want to fix our car as cheaply and as infrequently as we can. We want to keep that thing on the road, and we don't want it to be expensive. In addition to this basic profit formula, now I would not advise this, especially in this interest rate environment. Interest rates are fairly high right now. Maybe 10 years ago when you could get a car loan for like 1.5%, but financing costs do matter. So you want to also include, say, the cost of your interest if you are using a car loan. Now, when it comes to leases, I think that a lot of leases, they're not going to look too friendly on if you lease a car and you use it for rental purposes. So I'm only talking about outright purchases here. You got to check your own lease terms to see if you're allowed to. All right, so let's dig in. So we're going to start out with depreciation. So depreciation, it is how things lose value over time, either due to obsolescence or use. So I have my iPhone here. I bought it for, let's say, $800, and every year it gets used, it gets a little dinged up, better technology comes out, and maybe after 2 or 3 years, if I went to resell it, I could only catch maybe $300 or $250 for it. That's depreciation. Cars experience the same thing. And different brands and different car types have higher and lower depreciation. So the highest depreciating brands, Tesla, any electric vehicle, these cars lose value fast. So EVs, generally not the best for buying to rent on Turo. Luxury brands, BMW, Audi, Mercedes, these things lose value fast as well because new technology comes out. A lot of people don't want an old luxury car, especially when old luxury cars might have the same features that are in newer non-luxury cars that are cheaper. And then finally, large luxury SUVs such as Range Rovers or Lincoln Navigators or Chevy Tahoes or the new Broncos, they lose value very fast. The car brands that lose value less quickly, Toyotas, Subarus, and Jeeps, specifically Jeep Wranglers. In addition, car types matter. Pickup trucks, they tend to hold their value very well. Sedans, they're kind of in the middle. Cars that are worse at retaining their value, SUVs. They just don't hold their value as well. So this again says that, like, ideally, you get something like a Toyota, you get a truck to rent on Turo if you want to, knowing that someone might be doing some heavy construction using your truck, so maybe not. You get something like a Toyota, a sedan, or a Subaru, a sedan. Try to stay away from the luxury brands for depreciation purposes. Next up, the age matters. So this is probably the biggest one in my opinion. So when you buy a car, if you take a look at the price of a car, the price of a car, it increases exponentially with how much newer it is. Let's put it differently. Cars usually depreciate a fixed percentage per year, which means that a brand new car off the lot is going to depreciate, let's just say same brands, is going to depreciate faster. It's going to depreciate more as an absolute dollar value than a car that was 5 years old. So think about, let's say if a car loses 15% of its value every year. $50,000 is the brand new ticket price. It loses $7,500 in the first year. At the same time, you take the same exact car, maybe 10 years old, only worth about $10,000 or $15,000. It loses 15% of its value in the first year. It's only going to be like a couple thousand tops. So that's really interesting because at the same time, so we say the price of a car follows a J-curve, with newer cars being much, much more expensive than older cars. But what do you get on Turo for getting a newer car? It's only linear. So it's the price of the car goes like this, a J-curve, while what you get for it only kind of crawls up at a steady state. Why does this matter? It means that buying a new car isn't really a good deal for you. The extra money that you're putting out, you're not going to make that up. Unless, now this is where we get into the categories, unless you get into the newer exotic type cars. These things command a very high premium, but if you're going to get a Toyota Corolla to rent on Turo, don't get a 2025. Don't get the brand new one, because you're not going to be able to get that much more money versus, say, something like a 2022. And you're going to be paying a lot more money for that brand new car. So that's a very important one. Next up, and finally, I would say, repairs. You want a car that's cheap to maintain. You can take Kelley Blue Book data. I took some data from 2022, thinking that most people would be getting a somewhat used car to put on Turo. And the brand reliability changes, but not by much year over year. Most reliable brands, Toyota, Lexus. Now in 2022, believe it or not, BMW, but they are expensive to repair, my God, and they depreciate pretty fast. Mazda and Honda, those were the most reliable brands. Least reliable brands, and always at the very bottom, is Mercedes. And it's consistent year over year. Mercedes, and then not far off, Tesla, Jeep, Volkswagen. Jeeps aren't the best commuter cars in my opinion. And GMC and Chevy and Ford were also pretty close to the bottom. Most American cars were not very good as far as reliability is concerned. All right, so that is how we pick out our cars on Turo. In my opinion, the sweet spot is older, regular type cars. So I think that Turo has a limit, and I'll put it in here. I think that it's about 8 to 10 years old. Anything past that, they don't want you on their platform. They don't want really old cars. But if you could get something, say, that's maybe like 5 years old, or maybe 4 or 5 years old, older, regular cars, those are great. Those are great. They're cheap. They are reliable. They don't depreciate that fast. Have a fleet of them. And then the other category that works well is newer exotics. So like I live in West Palm Beach. This is where I did all my analysis, all my linear regressions and stuff in my local market. And believe it or not, Polaris slingshots. And these things are like a cross between a car and a motorcycle. They're not that expensive. Wow, they command a premium because they're cool and people vacation here. And nobody is going to buy one of these things. No one's going to buy one of these things as an everyday commuter car, so they command a premium. Same thing with, I'd say, anything else that's in their like fast and fun category. So that's the sweet spot. I hope that you found this useful, and if you're on your journey to financial freedom and early retirement and want an expert planner, advisor in your back pocket to get you there faster, give me a call. Thank you so much.